Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catron, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note.
Hi, Jason.
Good day, Shelby.
How's it going?
Great.
I like your jacket.
Thanks.
You got a popped collar. It's giving 1999.
You pop the collar because it just feels warm around the neck.
But did you also, in high school, in the 90s, when we went to high school, wear like two polos and pop them both, and they were both from Abercrombie?
Oh, yeah.
That was a big vibe.
I was about... I loved a collared shirt in high school. I
did
loved a
too.
turtleneck.
I didn't have anything from Abercrombie. It was too rich for my blood.
I didn't wear my turtleneck this year. I love wearing a turtleneck.
It's not too late.
That's true. We'll get another cold snap. I'll pull out that turtleneck.
You love a turtleneck? What'd you say?
I love wearing turtlenecks. They just look good on people.
Like
I don't know.
Steve
It's just
Jobs.
warmer. Yeah, it's just warmer. You know, we were in Tenore. I would always have on
A dickie?
we should have worn dickies. You don't know what a dickie is, Carlos?
Shut up. You don't know what a dickie is?
I'll tell you later. Can't say it on camera.
It's a fake turtleneck. It's like if you want to wear a turtleneck, but you don't want the full layer, you just want the look of the turtleneck.
Yeah.
So it's like, it'd be like if you took a turtleneck sweater and you cut out the neckline, and there's usually about like a bib size.
Oh, that's a dickie?
What it is.
I thought
Yes,
a
that's
dickie
a
was
dickie.
the ruffle thing that you wear.
Oh, that might be a
tuxedo
type
sometimes.
that might be another type of a dickie.
There are
I
lots
don't know.
of dickies. Different types and sizes.
I never know where these conversations are going.
We're
when we
talking
start
about clothing.
I will say, I'm impressed with our ability to go from, let's just start talking, to where we end up literally every time.
It is called the gift of gab.
It is.
No, in Tenore, I would always have on because we were always in the tundras of the world. For whatever reason, we were
Well, it was a Canadian-based group, right? It's cold
fair
up there.
enough, but it's just like we could not go anywhere warm. But yeah, we've been, some of these venues and halls are super cold, but I pretty much lived in a scarf. And I would have my hot water with lemon or tea or coffee if it was once in the morning. But I would sit in sound checks like this all the time. I would be so cold with gloves on, my finger gloves, and hot water in a scarf. One of the many reasons I think I got pegged as a Devo. I was just trying to keep my neck warm.
With your, not dickie, your actual turtleneck. Oh, man.
Oh,
I get cold easily. Unless I'm sleeping, and then I'm like an oven. But
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. Apparently, I'm hormonally weak. I listened to some like crunchy doctor say something about like how the cold is important, and what you need to do is when it's cold outside, you need to go outside and suffer and be cold. And I was like, poppycock. That
What
sounds
is
like a
that?
terrible idea. Well, I think it.
All these references today. Talking about dickies and poppycocks. Because this show digressed
I don't
to.
like being cold.
What does
I
that
don't-
mean, poppycock?
Like rubbish. That's nonsense.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like that popcorn, right? There's a brand of
Yes, I
popcorn
think
called
there is.
Poppycock.
I think there is. Hey, we'll take a brand deal. I'm gonna
yeah,
throw
we
that
would take-
into
I
every
would definitely
episode possible.
Take a brand deal from Poppycock or the Spotted Dick that they also have in the grocery store. Do you know what that is? This is going to be the most viewed episode we've ever had.
Might be.
I so hope it is, just to throw everything we've ever thought about it to the furthest tangent ever, and we
Man.
explode over nonsense.
Did you guys know that this is a podcast about music?
Yeah.
Here we are.
But is it not true? A lot of stuff in the world explodes over nonsense.
Yes.
Hawk Tuah Girl? That was just nonsense. And she's
is that?
become the Hawk Tuah Girl.
What is that?
Show.
Oh my God. Can we get like a beep? Like, Shelby.
I feel like I've heard this
Girl
word, but
it's
what
a
is
Nashville
that?
thing. Hawk Tuah Girl even had her own end cap of Hawk Tuah Girl Halloween wear at the Spirit store this year.
I don't go in those Halloween stores.
I'm making a point.
It's like walking into a nightmare.
I'm just making a point how big of a
What is
pop
Hawk Tuah
culture
Girl?
sensation she was.
I live in a hole sometimes with my children. What is Hawk Tuah Girl?
Hawk Tuah Girl got famous here in Nashville because she was downtown on Printer's Alley, I think, right?
No, I think she was on Broadway.
Or on Broadway. And who asked her the question?
Some guy that walks around and like is constantly interviewing girls about different things, and so he asked her,
Just a social media guy.
Her and this other girl, what's one move in bed that like can make it or whatever, make a man like think you're irresistible. So I'm like, I don't remember.
Okay.
And the one girl answered the question one way, and then she just grabs the mic and proceeds to say, well, let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up on that social media there. So she makes this comment, and instantly, overnight, superstardom.
No
like,
social media trail.
Yeah, no. Like she was working in a mattress factory like 2 hours outside of Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
And the next thing you know, she's got an agent. I saw her like the week later sitting in Soho at the bar.
Oh my gosh.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Will people be able to hear this?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit all that night.
That was it.
Oh my god.
It made her instantly famous.
And now she's gone because she had her own cryptocurrency and a bunch of people invested in it. And then she dumped it. A bunch of people made money out of it. And then within her circle, and then a bunch of people lost money.
Yeah. It's been this like roller coaster of a thing. Yeah.
And somehow you managed to miss all of it, which is pretty
I know.
I did. None of this rings a bell.
Especially with all the
Not
things she was throwing out at the beginning of this.
The poppycock?
Yeah.
I think it's like British slang. I could be wrong.
It is. I think so.
Yeah. Okay, but what does she have an end cap selling? You said something about having an end cap at the store.
There was just a costume of her at the spirit store.
She just looks like a random girl. Like she don't look like.
That's what she was.
But I mean, how do you make a costume out of just?
I don't know. I didn't buy it, but it was there. She had her whole little Hawk Tuah section.
I can't.
That's my point.
I can't.
We spend our days stressing over how to be beneficial to the world and educate, make better voices, create content that's engaging yet moving and informational. And all you got to do is spit on that thing. Shelby's face when I said that. I mean, the reality is that's pretty dang true. It's pretty dang true. But you know what? I can't fault or blame anyone.
We all live in the same world.
We all do.
In some ways, Jason, this is actually like a legitimate segue.
Yes, I think
into our
it is.
topic of conversation today.
Lay it out there.
To your point, we spend all this time and energy being the greatest vocal coaches and advocates, artist developers of our generation for our students and clients. And yet then there's people like that making money off the internet doing God knows what. And our conversation was sort of around, well, there's a lot of vocal coaches in the world these days. Anybody can be a vocal coach if you call yourself one on social media. So what makes a great coach? Isn't that what we're talking about? I think that's it, right?
That is what we're talking about.
What makes a great coach, and why are there so many?
Yeah, well, let's start there. Let's start with why there's so many. Two reasons come to mind right away. One, vocal coaching is one of the only things in the world that I know that doesn't have any sort of governing body to regulate or dictate the rules and standards.
Yeah.
Now there is...
I mean, you'd probably say that in like other art forms, maybe like in...
give me one.
Painting? Are there...
No, there's definitely... I mean, there's definitely... Well, I can't speak 100% knowledgeably on this, but I do feel like in the art world, there are definitely standards to how the business is run. Yeah, anyone can create something. Sure.
I guess I mean more the formation of the art itself, the coaching of the art.
I don't know. Well, I think...
I've never had a painting coach.
That's a great question.
So I don't know.
Maybe so. But again, by and large, I think my point is this, that outside of bel canto, which is the traditional style of coaching that comes from way back in the early days of
Opera.
vocal pedagogy, I guess probably started to flourish. I should know this, but probably during the Renaissance time. So when bel canto probably came about.
That is a good question.
Sounds
I'm
about
not
right.
sure.
That became the standard bearer for building vocals, and that's what primarily exists throughout all of the educational space today as being at primary or collegiate level, right? So there is somewhat of a standard there, but there's not like a bel canto board in Rome that's like, okay, you're certified or not.
Yeah, there's no standardization in vocal coaching, really.
And in modern in commercial coaching like we do, there's a zero.
Yeah, for sure.
A zero.
Yeah, it's
And
like just find somebody that you like.
It totally. And
Yeah.
so what can help establish someone's pedigree or relevance, understanding that there's no governing board? So that's number one. We'll get to that point I just made. That's number one. Number two, I think everyone's a vocal coach now because of COVID. All the musicians out there, especially people in theater and touring artists, I got to make some money. I'll coach someone. And so give me this amount of money, I'll coach you. At the base level, most of them were probably somewhat qualified to at least help someone sing a song.
Yeah.
But as we're going to uncover, there's way more to it than that. And so that goes back to what I just said, the pedigree of where your coach came from.
Yeah.
Not only their experience, but who mentored them.
Yeah.
You can speak into that.
Yeah, obviously we were both mentored by the same person, in Brett Manning, who was mentored by Seth Riggs,
Who is
the father of speech level singing.
He's the
I say the father of speech level singing. Some people might come after me for that. He's the one who made that what it is today in commercial music.
He is known as the father of modern vocal coaching.
Yeah,
he was the first big celebrity vocal coach.
Like Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. He coached.
I mean, everyone.
Everyone.
Whitney, Celine. From
And
what I
still
understand, he
still
still
coaches.
coaches. Yeah, he's like in his early 90s and he still coaches.
Wow.
I do think he still looks like he's 62. It's crazy. I don't know what he drinks or takes out there, but we should ask that.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, without knowing his full story, is that he had a coach in New York who was doing things, because he was an opera singer, Seth was, and so his coach was doing things a little outside the norm, not just teaching classical or bel canto style. And it really sat with Seth, and he started to like pay attention to like, oh, what are all these like pop singers doing?
Yeah.
And so, for you all out there on this topic, Shelby and I explain this a lot. The difference between classical and popular music is what? The main difference?
I think there's probably a couple ways to define this.
Yeah.
One definitive stylistic difference, I think, that I usually say is pop music. I probably got this from Brett. Pop music is or opera, classical, is more singing from vowel to vowel.
Yeah.
And pop is more singing from consonant to consonant.
Totally. We did get that from Brett, and Brett got that from Seth. And that's the through line there, where Seth started to coach that way. He moves to LA and starts coaching all these pop artists to sing on the consonant. And it makes for great pop music or country music or whatever. And so
I guess that's where he then started to extrapolate a lot of his pedagogy.
Totally. So, back to this point, I think for any of y'all out there who are looking for a great vocal coach that are not going to call either of us, even though you should. But if you're out there really looking for a coach, you need to know where they come from and who coached them and mentored them, because that's going to give you great insight into their success rate and their ability to really help you, because vocal coaching is more than just helping you sing a song or hit a note on pitch. It is way deeper than that.
Yeah, it is. It's multifactorial.
Yes.
So it's not just what do they charge, which is typically where we start as consumers, is how much is this going to cost me? And so, how it typically goes, you buy something, you're like, I want that, but I don't want to spend a ton of money on it. So what's the cheapest version of that I can get? And then depending on what it is and if you're talking about products or a service, You might end up trying the cheap thing and then discover the cheap thing is sufficient and that's all you need. Or, and what happens honestly most of the time, you try the cheap thing and you just waste your money.
Yeah.
Because you realize, oh, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to actually invest.
Totally.
And, you know, voice lessons can range anywhere from like $30 an hour in the United States to, what were we talking about? That somebody charges that we know of $1,200 an hour?
I heard of a coach that charges $1,250 an hour now.
And what's wild about both of those price points is what I have seen is I have seen both price points be not worth that. In terms of they're both not great. So
That's
like
a great
usually
point.
the cheap stuff is cheap because you're not getting a whole lot out of it. I have seen coaches charge way too little and they should be charging more because they're very qualified. But I've also seen coaches not charge much and it's because they're not necessarily at that point in their career worth charging more yet.
You're right.
You got to start somewhere. I started really cheap. And you grow and get better and you change your rates. But also on the opposite end of the spectrum where somebody is $1,200 an hour and it ain't worth that. Maybe it's worth $100. I don't know. $1,200? Wow. For case sensitive, right? So everything in there is dependent on multiple factors. It's not just if it costs more, it's worth more. And if it costs less, it's not worth it.
Right.
That can be a trend, but it's not always that way.
And that's why you really, if you're looking for a vocal coach or a coach of any level and anything, I firmly believe in coaching, obviously, in every aspect of life. If you're trying to level up, you need to get a coach.
Yeah, and you need to be willing to invest.
And you need to be willing to invest. I think that's a big point. And by and large, musicians don't want to invest in their own voices. There's a lot of factors into that too.
Yeah.
It pushes on all the subconscious and conscious spots of our being.
So much.
That's the biggest factor. The other is, by and large, musicians, we operate, most of us throughout our life, in a scarcity mentality because we're struggling to make money.
Yeah.
And that is the downside of it. But there is the reality that if you do your homework and you find the right coach for you and you know their background and their position currently, you now not only are you going to level up in your gift of your art, of your voice, of your writing, everything that you're doing in your career artistically is going to level up. But now you also open yourself up to a network of other artists and people in the industry that your coach works with.
Right.
That's invaluable.
That is huge.
If you're trying to collapse time, we talk about this a lot. Only thing we can't control is time, really, but we can collapse it. That's a way you collapse time.
Right.
You're going to spend $50 working with a coach that might help you figure out a few things and work on a song. But do they know the head of Sony Music?
Right.
You do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
That collapses time if that becomes a part of your journey, and that needs to happen, right? So
it's their internal network.
Yes, external network.
I think another big factor is just your like, for a coach, being, am I somebody who exudes trustworthiness?
Yeah.
Right? Do I seem like the kind of person who's out to make a name for myself, or I'm actually there to serve the student,
To help you.
serve the client? And that is an intangible, right? It's more of a vibe and it's a risk because nobody really, really knows, what might be going on under the surface and who has ulterior motives. But you can still pick up on some things subconsciously. And if you've got a good discerning sense of other people, then it's something you should pay attention to. Does this coach seem trustworthy? Do they seem like they are more interested in social media likes and, schmoozing or something like that, getting ahead themselves? Do they seem more interested in that, or do they seem more interested in you?
Yeah.
And this can actually, I think, become challenging because there are a lot of really good coaches out there who have a very big following.
Yeah.
And you're having to now go, wow, you've got probably millions of dollars and brand deals and millions of followers. Are you really in this for me? I've got to now try to figure that out by watching a video on YouTube. That's hard.
That is hard.
That's hard to do.
But it does go back to, you'll know within a few sessions if you work with this person, if they have a big heart and they care.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where that trustworthiness is built.
Yeah.
It's the caring. And also, you know, as your star rises, there will be a need for that because this person that you're allowing to mentor and coach you is going to know a lot of your
Dirt,
your deep
Yeah.
inner thoughts
Yep.
that come out in sessions, the, you know, even the interpersonal stuff with your band, your management, your label, all that stuff comes out. And sometimes you and I get in positions where we can't tell the friends that we know that are at their label what they said in the session that's frustrating them.
Yeah.
There has to be that trustworthiness there. And so it is a really interesting space to play where you're being, you know, champions and comrades, if you will, with both ends of the table there.
Yeah. I think one of the most important factors is you have to be able to get results.
Yes.
Right? That maybe the most important
Maybe the most.
factor of how do you know what makes a good coach is do they get good results, right? Are they able to deliver what they say they're going to deliver and what you want for them to deliver and more? And
that comes with levels of each artist, right?
Yeah, because beginners are
beginners,
looking for different results than a more seasoned
Established.
singer is going to be. Yeah.
And you know, so that beginner is going to take a lot more developmental work and training, where the seasoned artist may just need to keep healthy, mentally balanced, vocally balanced, and just always have them in a good headspace where they feel like they can continue to trust and know this voice that they have and feel good about it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
bad habits come up on the road
Yeah.
with every artist.
Do they have a good reputation? There's another one.
Yeah.
Right? We've talked about how Nashville's a small town. Your reputation's everything.
It's everything.
And if you soil that, like it's hard to fix that because everybody knows each other and word gets around, and it's such a small town in that way. It's this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon philosophy. It's like 2 degrees of separation in Nashville, it feels like. And so if you're not taking care of your relationships and you're getting talked poorly about, like, good luck having a successful career in Nashville and in any area of music, for sure. So it's like, what is your reputation? What are people saying about you behind your back? Is it good? Are you getting referrals? And I think that's actually probably a big one too, and that's results driven. But if you get good results, if you have great relationships with people, then those people talk really great about you and send other people to you.
Well,
My biggest like new business, if you will, like when it comes to coaching, it's referrals.
Yeah, it's all referral.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the place, and I'm very thankful for that. I've gotten to the place, you know, Shelby and I, outside of putting stuff on social media, we don't advertise. It's not like we're like, you know, sponsoring the Titan Stadium. That'd be sick though. Wouldn't it?
No, I don't think I want that many people calling me. I'd be very overwhelmed.
But yeah, so it's just all referral based. But that's been a fun thing for me over the past few years, is to really see how, as I've stayed true to the craft and the art form and continue to try to elevate myself as a coach, and how I connect with the artists I work with, it's been fun now to hear how people talk about me, even in a group setting, and they lead out with some statement of, you know, excellence in how they revere me as a coach.
Yeah.
And that's humbling.
It is.
And it's very rewarding to know that, wow, people do, they get this, they see it.
Yeah.
Because probably one of the hardest things we also fight for in our own realms is to fight for people to understand what we do and want to pay the fee. Because, the fee is always a little bit of a sticker shock. But there ain't nothing cheap in this world anymore. And if it is, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I went to Taco Bell a few weeks ago.
Why did you go to Taco Bell?
I was, the only thing open is late and I was starving. And
How did that go?
No, it wasn't late because I don't eat late. It was like a rush thing. I had to be somewhere. And it was the only thing I could get that I saw that I really kind of eat while I drive. It was dumb. I got like 3 Taco Supremes and a drink, and it was like $15.
That's
I'm
outrageous.
Like, that is not cheap. Because Taco
Definitely,
Bell,
that's expensive for
in
Taco Bell.
college, Taco Bell was cheap.
Yes,
That's
it
why you
was.
went there.
Yeah,
You could eat for the cheap.
I ate there in high school, and we'd go and get like a kid's meal, probably. in our lunch
Like
break in high school.
$1.50.
Yeah, literally under $2. $2 was my budget for my lunch every day in high school. That's how much my parents allocated for me to go off campus and buy lunch because I was allowed to do that as an upperclassman.
Yeah.
And I'd go, our places were like Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, those types of places. Yeah. And I could literally get a kid's meal for $2.
Wild.
I feel like now when my parents used to be like, my allowance was a nickel. I'd be like, wow, you're old.
So it would make I know, right? So it would make sense if Taco Bell used to be $2 and now it's $15.
Yeah.
That great coaching across the board, whether you're vocal coaching or whatever.
Yeah.
Would also elevate in its pricing.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's still a disconnect, I think, with a lot of people out there. I know we seem to be bantering on about proving our worth, and that's really not the point of this as much as...
No.
It's really the
helping
point of
people
today's...
know, like, how to navigate that. Because, like, literally, you open up your Instagram, your TikTok, or whatever, if you're looking at all for any vocal advice, you will find a sea of people out there that are like, I'm a coach.
They all think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I actually love some of this because I actually love to mentor vocal coaches. I've done it for years, so have you.
Yeah.
And I've got courses on vocal coaching.
I think that's another great tenet here is like, does your coach mentor coaches? That's going to show elevation of the experience and the knowledge behind the coach you're working with.
And is that coach looking out or actively looking to be better? Are they still learning? Are they still getting certifications or reading books or whatever it might be to increase their own knowledge and experience? And I think certifications and trainings are really important. And to your original point you were talking about, there's no standardization really in this world. It is a little bit of whatever you want it to be. I've been asked by potential clients before, like, do you have a degree in... Yeah. And I'm like, trust me, nobody has a degree in vocal coaching. Yeah. People have a degree in voice, like singing. You can get like a music education degree.
That's a really good point.
There's not really a vocal coaching degree that I've ever heard of.
They have masters in vocal pedagogy.
Yeah, they do.
They don't have an undergrad.
But what I have seen is you can see like, okay, I'll learn pedagogy. That doesn't mean you know how to teach it, right? You can know the facts about the voice all day long. You can know how your own voice works as you're discovering things, but can you communicate that to other people? The making of a good coach, maybe this boils down for me, is knowledge needs to be transferable.
Yes.
If you are unable to transfer knowledge, then you're not yet there.
Right,
you have not really gotten to the point of being a great coach.
Totally.
And that's an evolution. It's a journey. But I think for me, many, many years ago, I kind of took it upon myself to not take personal responsibility for the success or failure of another singer as a coach, but to make it my responsibility to communicate in such a way that they understand what I'm trying to say. Like I need to learn their language so that I can take what I know and transfer it to them. Yeah. And everybody has a different learning language. And so I made a big part of my pedagogy curriculum development to investigate the learning languages of singers, make those sort of a little buckets, be like, okay, if you have this type of a learner, then this is what they're wanting to receive from you and the things they're going to tune out from you. You need to tap into their learning language so that then you can speak to them in a language they understand. You got to get your frequency, right? Like a little radio dial and tune it into theirs because it's different. And so it's all about being able to tune your little radio dial in such a way that they understand. What they do with that knowledge is then on them. Yeah. Right. They got to go and be great, but I got to make sure that they get it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a big element of it to me. You know, do these people have some kind of certification when there is not a standard of certification out there in the world? Sure. What do you make of that? And, you know, my brother took a couple missions trips to, or maybe just one, I forget, Cuba. Obviously, this is like a...
Do you say Cuba or Cuba?
I say Cuba.
Carlos?
What do you say?
Oh, in the U.S., I always say Cuba.
What do you say in Puerto Rico?
Cuba.
Ah, see, that's cool.
That is cool.
Cuba. I like that.
You know, it's a communist country. Yeah. And one thing that's kind of wild is that all of the different industries in Cuba are literally everything is run by the government. Yeah. Nobody is a business owner. There is no private sector. It is all like a federal sort of thing. So
that's
if you're a vocal
communism.
coach, if you're, yes, that's communism. And all of the things that people do where I'm an entrepreneur and I can kind of create my own rules. Nope, can't. The government gives and pays everybody the same pay,
Yeah.
which is also kind of wild. And so what happens in these cultures is there's this massive stifling of creativity because nobody is motivated to innovate if they're all going to get paid the same amount of money.
Totally.
So there's like it shows us how, I guess, capitalism and free market societies can have this like, I mean, I'm not trying to make a case. I'm not debating about one or the other, although I don't want to live in a communist country. But if I'm going to, I'm not pro-communism.
One podcast, you're talking about overthrowing the government. Now you're talking about making us communists.
Here.
I
I don't want to be a commie.
We're going to have to get a new
but everything that's
co-host here.
everything that's kind of like tried to be done private is done on a black market there.
Yeah.
And so where there's too much regulation and standardization, there is no creative flow.
Yeah,
there is
sure.
no ability for anybody to like make progress in an industry or an expertise sector because there's no motivation.
Which in an interesting way is probably
it's like
why
opposite end of
they
the spectrum, right?
Totally, but that's probably why I never thought about this. Probably why they have such regard for the classic arts. Mm-hmm. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Communist countries really do value like classical music, opera, ballet, all classical art forms still have such relevance in those countries. It's probably a big reason for it. But innovation isn't as accepted. That's not across the board true statement, but you know what I'm saying?
So
it's an interesting point you bring up, and I think, again, for where we are in this whole process, because of what you're saying, anyone can be a coach of any sort. Right now, one of the hottest things on the internet is online coaching.
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest growth markets in all of internet.
Yeah.
And I sat, I know I told you this, when I was at about this time last year, it was in April, I guess. I was in, when I went to the Global Champions Tour in, what's Carlos laughing at me? So I'm talking about going to the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like,
No, I'm sorry. It was the other real.
Yeah,
really cool thing that I did.
the other bougie horse show I was at. The Global Champions Tour in Miami. It's this horse show on the beach. It was fantastic. And shout out to my friends at Longines. I'll give them a shout out. Why am I on the Champions Day, the very last day for the big Grand Prix, I was sitting by this guy Gary and his wife. She's a huge influencer. He runs their company, or did. Now he has his own network of coaching because he started. I think it's called. I forget what he's calling this thing. I'll have to look that up. The reason I'm telling you this, he turned to me because we're at a table, eating, and he turned to me and said, because they had just started this new coaching platform where he and his wife are teaching influencers how to elevate their game, specifically females. And so his point was that online coaching is going to change how we educate people forever, because people are going to stop going to four-year universities and paying $500,000 when they can pay you $20,000 for a 6 weeks crash course on how to edit videos.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary.
Yeah.
And so in this realm that we're in, there's such value there. And because of that, there's going to be a lot of low on the totem pole people try to get in there. Some are going to rise quick because they're good at marketing and making snappy little things click, and you're going to click on that button and buy.
Yeah.
You do need to give your due diligence and not necessarily just shut someone down because they charge a certain fee. Why is that fee there? Why does this course cost that much? Why is this 1 hour with Shelby at this price point? And
they're not paying us for the hour. They're paying us for the years of experience that we have that get them results that they need in 1 hour.
That's the point. You pulled it out.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Okay. you're not paying me for my 1 hour of my time. You're paying me for the 15 plus years of experience and training that I have that get you results in 1 hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What did Brett always say to us? One of my favorite quotes he always said.
I don't know. I've got a long list of them.
I do too. You can grow.
Oh, a year in a week or a week in a year?
Or a day. He
Year
used
in a
a
day
day.
or
Shelby was a slow learner. I didn't know he told you that. Carlos and I got day.
Shut up. I won't even toot my horn.
That was
I won't.
priceless. You can grow a year in a day
could.
or a day in a year. The results come from who you allow to help you grow.
Yeah.
Right? So again, and I say this to my clients all the time, I use that, and I always give him credit on that. If you work with me or you or Carlos, you're going to grow with that knowledge in 1 hour, the equivalent of a year in one hour, as opposed to paying someone $30 that you may not grow at all in a year.
Yeah.
You're going to get your time, but collapse time.
Collapse the time.
That's what we're all trying to do. We got one life. We're trying to get there as fast as we can with our dreams.
Yeah.
And, to that point too, I think when we're helping people with dreams, it's the one thing that will always sell. That's what is another big hot button issue in the world of self-help? What's probably the biggest? Because that's what we're really talking about, self-help
The
here.
world of self-help.
Yeah.
Like the biggest problem?
No, the biggest sector of that industry of self-help. Like the gurus out there, the coaches.
Mental health?
No. Oh gosh, no. We wish. It'd be a healthier world. Fitness.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone spends money all the time on their health and beauty and how they look. And the majority of people who buy the programs, who buy the supplements, who join the gyms,
They don't ever do anything.
They don't ever change.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think I saw where even on like online courses and stuff, what we talked about this, it's a very small percentage actually ever finish the complete course.
Yeah.
I think it's like less than 20%.
I think it is.
But they'll pay $1,500 to learn how to make TikTok videos, but then they don't finish it. You know, it's like, so again, another reason for having a great coach is someone who's going to keep driving and pushing you to reach for your goals, because everything in you is going to say, I got to stop, or I'm tired, or get distracted.
Yeah. Right.
We could go on and on for days about the benefits.
Yeah.
But I think, again, the main point here is find a coach that you trust and believe in, do your background on who they are and what their pedigree is.
Yeah.
And build this beautiful relationship together that can really see you through your career.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I love about Seth has always coached Stevie Wonder his entire career.
Yeah.
And still does, from what I understand. They'll still work together.
because Stevie's smart. He'd be like, if I don't need this guy, I'm going to move on.
That's why Stevie still sounds like he does too.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you think that being having celebrity clientele is an important factor when you're looking at a coach? Like, well, who have you coached? And I think that it's part of people's resume, right? So it's like, and I've been asked that a bunch of times. Who else do you work with that would make me want to be like, oh, I should work with you?
Yeah.
You know?
I do believe that's important, because if you are, I think it depends, obviously. Like if you're just, if you're 8 years old and wanting to learn how to sing, it may not make sense to spend that much money for that child that doesn't know what they want to do yet to work with someone at our level.
Right.
But if you're really trying to either learn how to sing and fall in love with this thing you want more than anything, or if you really are trying to become a professional and have a career in it, you should work with someone who works with other celebrities.
Yeah.
Because again, it puts you in that sphere.
It's part of their network.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not because you're like, you need to be able to go on tour with that artist or something that they work with, or you're like, I want to meet them. But it shows that you have done, as the coach, the work of relationship building. And I'll say too, for me, I would have.
It also says you're good.
Yeah, it does.
Like
years ago, because your reputation's everything. But years ago, I probably would have been like, hey, I don't necessarily have these amazing artists on my resume yet, but I know that I'm good enough to teach them. Here's the reality: is my skills were, but my mindset wasn't yet.
And I think that's the key.
When my mindset began to shift in my own valuation and self-valuation and things like that, I actually started to attract higher clientele. There was several things that went into that, but that was, there was a big pivot and shift for me. And then I started picking up some big names that people know.
And that's what I started to say and forgot is if you want to be a star, be around stars.
Right.
And you may not get to have coffee with,
Celine.
Yeah, or Blake Shelton at, Nashville on Saturday morning because you don't know him yet.
Yeah.
But if you want to be in the circles that are like those people, work with coaches who are in those spheres, write with writers who are in those spheres, work with producers who are in those spheres,
right?
Connect with managers who are, you can't
They're famous for a reason.
Totally. And you can't be in a world or a realm if you don't insert yourself in it at some level. Mm-hmm. There's always...
That's a hard shift for people.
It is.
It really is. It was a hard one for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels like I'm trying to be, so self-indulgent.
I've never struggled with that.
We know you haven't, Jason.
No, I mean, even in my own way, I have.
Yeah, well, because it's human to feel that like imposter syndrome and all of that. But it was definitely a hurdle for me mentally that I had to.
Sure.
It was definitely a process, and I think I'm forever in it. But there was a shift for me of my mindset where I basically, like the story was, I got a call one day from somebody who was like, hey, this artist who is like basically the most famous artist that anybody knows of right now, it needs a coach. They had to cancel a bunch of shows. I put your name in the hat because he works at his record label. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And I ended up talking to their manager, and they ultimately went a different route, which was fine because it was definitely one of those, it was just an honor being nominated kind of moments for me.
Yeah.
But it helped my mindset. This was already in process, but that was a big kick in the butt for me to be like, why not me? Somebody's going to teach this person. Do I think I'm qualified? Hell yes, I do.
Yeah.
I know I could help that person. I'm a little sad I didn't get to, because to be totally frank, I'd been studying their voice as a fan for years. I was very familiar. And I was like, wow, if I'm that close to having an opportunity like that without even trying, I didn't ask to get put into that hat.
It came to you.
It came. And I'm like, what happens if I start knocking on a few doors?
Yeah.
Everything changed.
Totally.
But I had to see myself that way. That was such a game changer for me. I had the skills, but without the mindset, that is the power combo of, can the coach have the skills to deliver and the mindset that they're dang confident that they can get you those results.
I like that.
You know?
I thought you were just jealous of seeing all my star clients on my list.
Oh, these people. We haven't name dropped at all. All these people would be like, y'all are so full of it. You're so full of it.
This is when our ratings tank. No one listens anymore. They're like,
Back to the Dickies and Poppycock.
yeah.
Poppycock.
Seriously,
Y'all
everyone's
are
like,
full
I
of
really enjoyed that
poppycock.
first part of the show. That was
Yeah.
fun. Then they just started talking about themselves forever.
Yep.
No, you know what? This has been great. The whole point today was really to help you all out there understand that there is relevance to great coaching. Find great coaches, whatever arena in life you're in.
I got some referrals.
And
Hit me
then-
up. I'll send you some. I'll send you
yeah,
some good
totally.
coaches. I've got like a roster of coaches I'm starting to build up.
Same. And at the same time, if you get really good at something, open yourself up to mentorship. And you know, if you want to be a coach of your own, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vocal coaching space is a very bizarre world.
It kind of is. It's weird.
And it's fun. It's very mysterious, like music itself. But there are some great ones out there.
Absolutely, there's a lot.
And do your work.
Yep.
You know, and always call us if you need us. We'll set the record straight. Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.